Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce Raymond Chan, who's here to speak to you about the 2019 Worst Roads.
Thank you, Caitlin, and good morning, everyone. My name is Raymond Chan, and I'd like to thank you for joining us as we reveal the 2019 CAA Worst Roads here in Ontario. We're delighted to be here today, representing the voices of thousands of Ontarians who believe that more can be done to keep our roads safe. There are many reasons why Ontarians nominate roads that don't meet their expectations. Potholes and crumbling pavements are often the most obvious signs of degraded or insufficient infrastructure, but issues like traffic congestion, poor road signs, and pedestrian and cycling safety are also of importance. The CAA's annual Worst Roads advocacy campaign was created to provide Ontario road users with a trusted forum to nominate problematic roads and to influence change. Today, we will reveal the 2019 CAA Ontario Worst Roads, and over the coming weeks and months, we will work with decision makers across the province to ensure that nominated roads are on their radar. This year, CAA again saw an overwhelming amount of support across the province. 53% of municipalities saw roads in their community nominated. From Windsor to Cornwall to Toronto to Timmins, people all across Ontario took the time this spring to nominate roads that did not meet their expectations. The results from this year's CAA Worst Roads campaign highlight several emerging or new roads, as well as roads that continue to be of a concern to Ontario residents, despite being on the list many times. Appearing for the first time on CAA's Worst Roads list, and the #1 worst road for 2019 is Eglinton Avenue East in Toronto. Voters cited crumbling pavement, potholes, and poor road signage as the main reasons for concern. Eglinton Avenue East in Toronto is currently undergoing one of the largest transit expansions in North America, which has significantly impacted road conditions during construction. With Eglinton Avenue West making an appearance on the top 10 list last year, the entirety of this road appears to be of concern. While the condition of the road is of concern to the public, many of the challenges will hopefully be resolved with the completion of the Eglinton Crosstown project. Following Eglinton Avenue East, the top 10 list of CAA Worst Roads in Ontario is as follows. Number 2, Riverdale Drive in Washego. Number 3, Dufferin Street in Toronto. Number 4, County Road 49 in Prince Edward County. Number 5, Barton Street East in Hamilton. And number 6, Burlington Street East, also in Hamilton. Number 7, Avondale Road in Belleville. Number 8, Shepherd Avenue East in Toronto. Number 9, Carnegie Beach Road in Scugog. And number 10, Bathurst Street in Toronto. Drivers accounted for over 3/4 of the votes cast, while roughly 12% of votes were from cyclists and 12% from pedestrians. In terms of the primary reason for selecting their road, 85% cited potholes and crumbling pavement, and 6% chose congestion as their primary issue. This data clearly shows that the quality of our roadways remains a critical issue for all Ontarians. Within the City of Toronto, the top 5 CAA Worst Roads are number 1, Eglinton Avenue East, number 2, Dufferin Street, number 3, Shepherd Avenue East, number 4, Bathurst Street, and number 5, Steeles Avenue East. The roads that are emerging as areas of concern are Riverdale Drive in the community of Washego, which is new to this year's list. It is number 2 on the provincial list and holds the number 1 position in the central region. Bathurst Street also joined the rankings this year after over a decade off of the provincial list and is now number 10 due to potholes, crumbling pavement, and traffic congestion. Bathurst Street took the number 4 spot on the Toronto list. Barton Street East in Hamilton was on the Ontario Worst Roads list in 2004, but has since stayed off the radar until this year. It is now 5th on the provincial list and was voted the worst road in Hamilton. It is important to remember that roadways have a lifespan and require maintenance and resurfacing as they age. As infrastructure funding is allocated over time, we often see roads come on and off of this list. It's an ongoing process of monitoring, prioritization, and investment. CAA is very pleased to see that roadway infrastructure seems to be getting a high priority as the summer construction season gets underway. Just this month, the Ontario government announced new funding for 49 road and bridge projects in rural Ontario. And here in Toronto, Mayor John Tory introduced an extensive spring and summer construction plan for the city with a budget of over $1 billion. The plan not only includes roads, but also sidewalks, bridges, sewer, and water main maintenance as well. These types of investments are promising, as funding for roadway improvements needs to be consistent and reoccurring to ensure that the quality and safety is maintained over the long run. In closing, the CAA Worst Roads campaign continues to be a platform for Ontarians to make our roads safer by helping different levels of government understand what roadway improvements are important and where they need to be made. We look forward to working with decision makers on these issues over the weeks and months ahead. I want to thank you for being here today, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Why is Burlington Street in Hamilton so consistently on the list? Is the city not put enough funds into it? Is there too much traffic on it, too many heavy trucks? What's the problem?
Well, it was our #1 worst road last year, and this year it's dropped down in the rankings. The city had allocated several $1 million worth towards improvements of Burlington Street East, the lower portion of it. I think when it comes to worst roads in Hamilton, people just seem to automatically gravitate towards Burlington Street East. It's an answer they seem to give quite frequently, and I think because those improvements are now there, it just takes a little bit of time for people to recognize that improvements have been made, but certainly more work can be done. It could be potentially. I mean, roads that are left unmaintained and not resurfaced in a timely manner can certainly have detrimental effects to the motoring public. Is it dangerous? Yes, I would say it would be. You could have issues that result as a result of hitting things like a pothole. You could have damage to your vehicle, which could have long-term effects, not only to the safety of the passengers within the vehicle, but also dangers to your pocketbook as well. You're spending lots and lots of money in order to get your vehicle repaired. So I think that municipalities need to pay attention to the amount of money that's being allocated to roads, and certainly more dedicated and permanent funding needs to be made.
Have you looked into any injuries or deaths that have occurred because of non-unmaintained bad roads in the province?
I don't think we've gotten to that severity, and I'm really hoping that we don't. Certainly well-maintained roads lead to more efficiency. It leads towards a better environment, but a better commute for everybody all around. So it's vital and important that municipalities and the province recognize that proper and adequate funding and more permanent and dedicated funding is important towards things like infrastructure improvements.
Are we on that list? I mean, the city basically buried a report on where the traction was, and several people have died.
Well, it's certainly not one of the roads that's on our list this year. I mean, I think Ontarians have really spoken this year. Having 53% of all Ontario municipalities participate and have some sort of nominated road in our campaign really says a lot about the condition of our roads and the need for actual repairs and more allocation of dollars.
But this is a serious problem. I mean, if poor roads are causing deaths, shouldn't that be tracked? Is anybody tracking that?
That's something definitely we should be talking about with our government counterparts, about having addressed some of those safety issues that you speak about, and making sure that our roads are in tip-top condition, whether they be crumbling pavement or potholes, or whether they be bad signal timing or missing or confusing road signs. These are all issues that make up our bad roads. Well, we'll be talking about various challenges relating to infrastructure. You know, the campaign is all about grassroots and hearing what the public has to say about the condition of their roads. So we'll most certainly take those comments into consideration and definitely start to begin the conversation again, talking about the need for improvements, where they need to be made, and budgeting and making sure that the proper time, money, and allocation of resources is actually done at the municipal level.
Satisfied that enough of municipal and provincial budgets go towards road building?
Well, we've seen a lot of comments, especially recently, from both the province and various municipalities about funding and allocation of dollars. So it's great that these improvements and one-time allocations are being made. But again, we need to look at more permanent and dedicated forms of funding. We need to have more adequate funds, and we really need the support from on our senior levels of government, whether it be from the federal level or the province, to help out municipalities. I think we're all in it together to make our roads safe. So if there's a way to do that and for the CAA to advocate on behalf of the public to make sure that our roads are in tip-top condition, that certainly something that that we'll be calling for.
What do motorists do when they encounter these potholes, these bad roads that causes damage to their cars?
Well, a lot of municipalities have a 311 service, and if they don't, I encourage them to contact their local city councilor or the mayor's office to get in touch about how to file a claim with the city. Many municipalities have a process where if you make a claim with the city due to some damage to your vehicle, there's an opportunity there to perhaps recoup some costs. What I would say is document that very well, figure out where exactly that happened, make sure you have some photographic evidence, grab some witness information if you do have it. The more details, the better, and they can hopefully go back and determine whether or not that road was at fault and whether or not you're eligible for some sort of claim.
And you're talking about federal level funding, so is there, this year is the election time, so is the CAA will be pushing it?
Well, that's a great question, and I think that our membership and the public should really be out there this year. And as you said, this fall we're entering into a federal campaign. Now is a perfect time to start talking about federal infrastructure funding and how that could potentially trickle down to the province and to municipalities as well. So I encourage our public out there to contact the candidates in their local communities and ask them what they're doing about infrastructure funding. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Go Raptors.